Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into one of the oldest and most massive stories ever told, the Mahabharata. And let me tell you, this is way more than just an ancient poem. It's a deep dive into duty, family, and the absolutely devastating price of war. And its lessons are just as powerful today as they were thousands of years ago.
So, to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, let's start with this number. The Mahabharata has over 110,000 verses. That makes it one of the longest epic poems in history. We're talking about 10 times the length of the Iliad and the Odyssey combined. It's huge.
But for all its size, the story really boils down to something incredibly personal and tragic. A huge, catastrophic war fought between two sides of the same family, two sets of cousins, all fighting for a kingdom. So the big question is, how did it all go so wrong? Let's dig in.
Well, the seeds of this war were actually planted generations before anyone even picked up a weapon. It all starts with a royal family tangled up in curses, impossible promises, and a crisis over who should be king.
Okay, so this is where things start to get complicated. You've got the rightful heir, a prince named Devarata, who later becomes known as the Great Bhishma. He makes this incredible sacrifice. He takes a vow of lifelong celibacy, just so his dad can get remarried. It's a noble act for sure, but it takes him out of the running for the throne, and that creates a power vacuum that eventually leads to his two nephews, Dhritarashtra, who's blind, and Pandu, who's pale. And right there, that's the setup for the disaster to come.
So, with the royal line all fractured, you get two competing branches of the family. And from the time they were kids, the rivalry between these two groups of princes starts planting the seeds for what will become this deep, bitter hatred.
So on one side, you have the five Pandava brothers. They're the sons of King Pandu, and they're known for being noble and incredibly skilled. And then on the other side, you have their cousins, the 100 Kaurava brothers. They're the sons of the blind king, Dhritarashtra, and they're led by the oldest, Duryodhana, who is just consumed by ambition and jealousy because he feels the throne is his and his alone.
And this rivalry wasn't just political, it got personal fast. When they were training together, the Pandava prince Arjuna was a natural, an amazing archer who became the teacher's favorite. Well, this just drove Duryodhana crazy with resentment. His hatred got so bad that he actually came up with a plot to kill all his cousins and their mother by burning them alive in a palace made of wax. They managed to escape, but wow, the battle lines were definitely drawn after that.
So the Pandavas survive, and they go off and build this amazing, prosperous kingdom of their own. But seeing them succeed just eats away at Duryodhana. So, with the help of his manipulative uncle, Shakuni, he comes up with a new plan to destroy the Pandavas not with swords, but with a simple game of dice.
This is the real point of no return. Yudhishthira, the oldest Pandava, feels like he has to accept the invitation to the game. It's a matter of honor. But the whole thing is a setup. Shakuni's dice are rigged, and one by one, Yudhishthira loses everything. His kingdom, his wealth, his brothers, even his own freedom. And then, in one last, desperate, truly awful move, he bets their shared wife, Draupadi, and he loses her too.
What happens next is what makes the war absolutely unavoidable. Draupadi is dragged into the court to be publicly humiliated. As all the elders just sit there in silence, one of the Pandava brothers, Bhima, can't do anything to stop it, and he just roars out this terrifying vow of vengeance against the Kauravas who did this.
Okay, so to stop a war from breaking out right then and there, a deal is made. The Pandavas are sent into exile for 13 years. The catch? If anyone finds them during that last year when they're in disguise, they have to do the whole 13 years all over again. It was basically a punishment designed to make everyone forget they ever existed.
13 long years later, the Pandavas complete their exile. They've done it. They come back to claim their half of the kingdom. But Duryodhana, just full of hate, basically laughs in their faces. He refuses to give them back even enough land to fit on the tip of a needle. And just like that, all hope for peace is gone. The family gathers their massive armies for an 18-day war that will literally tear the world apart. Now, the whole war is seen as a conflict over this idea called dharma. It's a really complex concept. It's about duty, justice, and the right way to live. And it's so complicated that even great men, like their grandfather Bhishma and their teacher Drona, know the Pandavas are in the right, but they're bound by their own oaths to fight for the Kauravas. I mean, that's the tragedy, right? Their personal sense of right and wrong is completely at odds with their duty. And the war itself is just brutal. It's a relentless series of tragedies. The rules of war get bent, then they get broken,
And one by one, these absolute legends, these giants of their time start to fall. The invincible Bhishma, the brilliant teacher Drona, even Arjuna's own teenage son, Abhimanyu. The cost is just staggering.
But maybe the deepest tragedy in his whole mess is the story of Arjuna and Karna. They are the two greatest archers alive, and they are bitter enemies on the battlefield. The cruelest twist of the entire epic, though, they're secretly brothers, sons of the same mother. It's a truth they don't find out until it's far, far too late.
So after 18 days of unimaginable bloodshed, the war is finally over. The Pandavas have won, but it feels nothing like a victory. They've inherited a kingdom filled with widows and orphans, basically a kingdom of ash.
The whole thing ends in this final, brutal duel between Bhima and his lifelong enemy, Duryodhana. And in this savage fight, Bhima fulfills that terrible promise he made 13 years ago in that hall of dice. He smashes Duryodhana's thigh, and the war is finally, officially over.
But what did that victory actually cost? I mean, look at this. After millions of soldiers fought for 18 days, this is all that's left. Just a handful of warriors on either side. Sure, the Pandavas won the throne, but they basically had to destroy their entire world to get it. They're left to rule a kingdom of the dead.
And you'd think the horror would end there, but it doesn't. In one last, sick act of revenge, the son of the slain teacher Drona, a man named Ashwathama, sneaks into the Pandavas' camp at night, and he murders all of their sleeping children, wiping out the entire next generation.
And that leaves us with the huge, haunting question at the very heart of the Mahabharata, a question that echoes from ancient times all the way to today. When a war costs you everything, your family, your friends, your future, what does it even mean to win?